Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for joining. So, our guest speaker is here,
Hare
ready.
Krishna Prabhu, Janar Pranam.
Uh, Pradyumna Prabhu, and he's ready to go. So, I just want to quickly introduce our Prabhu. He's Temple President of Iskcon, Leicester, and a disciple of Jayadvaita Swami. Actually, he's been president there in Leicester since 2004. And he's had an amazing journey. He's very local to us because he's from Walsall as well, where we are staying, and began at Iskcon Birmingham as a teenager. So he's very close to our heart here in Birmingham. And then he moved over to the manor, served up there under some amazing devotees. So some great guidance, Prabhu, Shruti Dharma Prabhu, Pranbandhu Prabhu. So we have so much to learn from him. He has so much to share with us, and it's our good fortune that we have this facility to have Prabhu give us his time and share his knowledge and wisdom with us. And now he's currently at, he's part to the Vanti schools in Leicester, and he's teaching there at the moment, and so he's a wonderful person, and I'm really looking forward to hearing the summary of chapter 19, Canto 1. So I'm going to pass you on to Prabhu. Dandasvana Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for the invitation, generous introduction, and it's my good fortune to be in the association of all of you. And thank you, Narayan Keshava Prabhu, for really investing your time in study of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. It's really a great service to have.
Definitely, Prabhu. That's my privilege.
So I will just share the verses and have them on the screen available to us.
Sorry, Prabhu. I'm going to see. Okay.
Can you all see the verses now?
Definitely, Prabhu.
Okay.
You can see?
I'd like to begin with some invocation prayers, and then we'll begin to read and discuss this. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swaha Padantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Syuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavankscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitang Tvang Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitangscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivash Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today we're concluding the first canto, reading chapter 19, which is the appearance of Sukadev Goswami. And what I'd like to do first is for us all to just read all of the verses of the chapter. and then I'll come back, and then we'll take a few verses at a time, just to give an idea of the flow and just pick out, what are the significant things that are taking place in this chapter. We obviously come from chapter 18, which is very significant in the turn of events in the life of Parikshit Maharaj. He is out visiting throughout his kingdom. He feels thirsty. He calls upon the house of a sage. The sage is sitting in meditation, meditation, and does not receive the king. And the king at that time, as it's described by the will of providence, becomes uncharacteristically very angry and places a snake upon the shoulders of the sage. Now, the sage doesn't retaliate at all, but Shringi, the son of the sage, becomes very, very upset to the point he then, I mean, he's just a child, but he takes it upon himself. He does something that a child doesn't necessarily need to involve themselves in. He then curses the king. Um, and so where we pick up this chapter is the king is just coming back from that episode, and how we'll hear actually the starting of the chapter talks about the nature and character of Parikshit while he's reflecting on what he's just done. And that in itself is quite a significant lesson for us. We could spend a lot of time just analyzing the beginning of this chapter in terms of the character of regret, the character of repentance, which is very natural in devotees, realizing when they've done something incorrect. Then the chapter will progress through Parikshit Maharaj's reflections on becoming Krishna conscious. We hear the glorification of Ganga Devi because he goes to the banks of that. We will hear the auspicious names of the rishis and sages that begin to arrive. And as we'll hear in the verse, from all over the universe, they're arriving for this amazing spectacle of what they're about to witness, not only in the passing of Parikshit, but also the gatha, the wisdom, the Krishna conscious transcendental pastimes that are going to be shared. Parikshit is then welcoming the sages, and then he's ready to sit down, he's ready to fast. The sages then respond to Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj feels grateful, and at that moment Sukadev Goswami appears, and we'll hear the beautiful description of his form, his quality, the way he looks. And then we come to the end of the chapter where we um, see them both sitting and ready for this exchange. But Parikshit Maharaj, for a number of verses, is kind of glorifying. We will learn something about sitting before a teacher, sitting before a guru, where one glorifies and takes inquiry, asks inquiry from the spiritual master, and then the chapter ends, leaving us waiting for Canto to see what Sukadeva Goswami will say. So that's the flow, just to kind of create that impression within our mind of the flow that we're going to go across, and we'll get into the verses a little more in detail. But let us all, you can read where you are. I'll just read out aloud and you can follow. But it's good to begin the chapter by reading all verses in sequence, and then we'll go back and see what some of the significant aspects of the various sections are within the verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 19, the appearance of Sukadev Goswami. Shri Sutta Goswami said, while returning home, the king, Maharaj Parikshit, felt that the act he had committed against the faultless and powerful Brahmana was heinous and uncivilized. Consequently, he was distressed. King Parikshit thought, due to my neglecting the injunctions of the Supreme Lord, I must certainly expect some difficulty to overcome me in the near future. I now desire without reservation that the calamity come now, for in this way I may be freed from the sinful reaction and not commit such an offense again. I am civilized and sinful due to my neglect of Brahminical culture, God consciousness, and cow protection. Therefore I wish that my kingdom, strength, and riches burn up immediately by the fire of the Brahmana's wrath, so that in the future I may not be guided by such inauspicious attitudes. While the king was thus repenting, he received news of his imminent death, which would be due to the bite of a snake bird, occasioned by the curse spoken by the sage's son. The king accepted this as good news, for it would be the cause of his indifference toward worldly things. Maharaj Parikshit sat down firmly on the banks of the Ganges to concentrate his mind in Krishna consciousness, rejecting all other practices of self-realization, because transcendental loving service to Krishna is the greatest achievement, superseding all other methods. The river by which the king sat to fast carries the most auspicious water, which is mixed with the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord and tulsi leaves. Therefore that water sanctifies the three worlds, inside and outside, and even sanctifies Lord Shiva and other demigods. Consequently, everyone who is destined to die must take shelter of this river. Thus the king, the worthy descendant of the Pandavas, decided once and for all, and sat on the Ganges bank to fast until death and give himself up to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, who alone is able to award liberation. So, freeing himself from all kinds of associations and attachments, he accepted the vows of a sage. At that time, all the great minds and thinkers, accompanied by their disciples and sages, who could verily sanctify a place of pilgrimage just by their presence, arrived there on the plea of making a pilgrim's journey. From different parts of the universe, there arrived great sages like Atri, Chayavana, Sharadvan, Aristanena, Nemi, Bhrigu, Vashishta, Parashar, Vishwamrita, Angira, Parashuram, Uthaya, Indra Pramada, Idmavahu, Medatithi, Devala, Aristasena, Bharadvaj, Gautama, Pipalad, Maitreya, Aurva, Kuvasha, Kumbhayoni, Dvaipayana, and the great sage Narada. There were also many other saintly demigods, kings, and special royal orders called Arunadhaya, a special rank of Raja Rishi from different dynasties of sages. When they all assembled together to meet the Emperor Parikshit, he received them properly and bowed his head to the ground. After all, the rishis and others had seated themselves comfortably. The king, humbly standing before them with folded hands, told them of his decision to fast until death. The fortunate king said, "Indeed, we are the most grateful of all kings, who are trained to get favors from the great souls. Generally, you sages consider royalty as refuge, to be rejected and left in a distant place. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the controller of both the transcendental and mundane worlds, has graciously overtaken me in the form of a Brahmana's curse. Due to my being too much attached to family life, the Lord, in order to save me, has appeared before me in such a way that only out of fear I will detach myself from the world. O Brahmanas, just accept me as a completely surrendered soul, and let Mother Ganges, the representative of the Lord, also accept me in that way, for I have already taken the lotus feet of the Lord into my heart. Let the snake bird, or whatever magical thing the Brahmana created, bite me at once. I only desire that you all continue singing the deeds of Lord Vishnu. Again, offering obeisances unto all of you Brahmanas, I pray that I should again take my birth in the material world. I will have complete attachment to the unlimited Lord Krishna, association with his devotees, and friendly relations with all living beings. In perfect self-control, Maharaj Parikshit sat down on a seat of straw, with straw roots facing the east, placed on the southern bank of the Ganges, and he himself faced the north. Just previously, he had given charge of his kingdom over to his son. Thus the king, Maharaj Parikshit, sat to fast until death. All the demigods of the higher planets praised the king's actions, and in pleasure continually scattered flowers over the earth and beat celestial drums. All the great sages who were assembled there also praised the decision of Maharaj Parikshit, and they expressed their approval by saying, "Very good." Naturally, the sages are inclined to do good to common men, for they have all the qualitative powers of the Supreme Lord. Therefore they were very much pleased to see Maharaj Parikshit, a devotee of the Lord, and they spoke as follows. The sages said, "O chief of all the saintly kings of the Pandu dynasty, who are strictly in the line of Lord Shri Krishna, it is not at all astonishing that you give up your throne, which is decorated with the helmets of many kings, to achieve eternal association with the personality of Godhead. We should all wait here until the foremost devotee of the Lord, Maharaj Parikshit, returns to the supreme planet, which is completely free from all mundane contamination and all kinds of lamentation." All that was spoken by the great sages was very sweet to the ear, was very sweet to hear, full of meaning, and appropriately presented as perfectly true. So after hearing them, Maharaj Parikshit, desiring to hear of the activities of Lord Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, congratulated the great sages. The king said, "O great sages, you have all very kindly assembled here, having come from all parts of the universe. You are all as good as the supreme knowledge personified, who resides in the planet above the three worlds, Satyaloka. Consequently, you are naturally inclined to do good to others, but for this you have no interest either in this life or in the next. O trustworthy Brahmanas, I now ask you about my immediate duty. Please, after proper deliberation, tell me of the unalloyed duty of everyone in all circumstances, and specifically of those who are just about to die." At that moment, there appeared a powerful son of Vyasadeva, who travelled over the earth disinterested and satisfied within himself. He did not manifest any symptoms of belonging to any social order or status of life. He was surrounded with women and children, and he dressed as if others had neglected him. The son of Vyasadeva was only 16 years old. His legs, hands, thighs, arms, shoulders, forehead, and the other parts of his body were all delicately formed. His eyes were beautifully wide, and his nose and ears were highly raised. He had a very attractive face, and his neck was well formed and beautiful like a conch shell. His collarbone was fleshy, his chest broad and thick, his navel deep, and his abdomen beautifully striped. His arms were long, and curly hair was strewn over his beautiful face. He was naked, and the hue of his body reflected that of Lord Krishna. He was blackish and very beautiful due to his youth. Because of the glamour of his body and his attractive smiles, he was pleasing to women. Though he tried to cover his natural glories, the great sages present there were all expert in the art of physiognomy, and so they honored him by rising from their seats. Maharaj Parikshit, who is also known as Vishnu Rata, one who is always protected by Vishnu, bowed his head to receive the chief guest, Sukadeva Goswami. At that time, all the ignorant women and boys ceased following Srila Sukadeva Goswami. Srila Sukadeva. Receiving respect from all, Sukadeva Goswami took his exalted seat. Sukadeva Goswami was then surrounded by saintly sages and demigods, just as the moon is surrounded by stars, planets, and other heavenly bodies. His presence was gorgeous, and he was respected by all. The sage Sri Sukadeva Goswami sat perfectly pacified, intelligent, and ready to answer any question without hesitation. The great devotee Maharaj Parikshit approached him, offered his respects by bowing down before him, and politely inquired with sweet words and folded hands. The fortunate King Parikshit said, "O Brahmana, by your mercy only, you have sanctified us, making us like unto places of pilgrimage, all by your presence here as my guest. By your mercy we, who are but unworthy royalty, become eligible to serve the devotee. Simply by our remembering you, our houses become instantly sanctified. And what to speak of seeing you, touching you, washing your holy feet, and offering you a seat in our home. Just as the atheist cannot remain in the presence of the personality of Godhead, so also the invulnerable sins of a man are immediately vanquished in your presence. O saint, O great mystic." Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is very dear to the sons of King Pandu, has accepted me as one of those relatives just to please his great cousins and brothers. Otherwise, without being inspired by Lord Krishna, how is it that you have voluntarily appeared here, though you are moving incognito to the common man and are not visible to us who are on the verge of death? You are the spiritual master of great saints and devotees. I am therefore begging you to show the way of perfection for all persons, and especially for one who is about to die. Please let me know what a man should hear, chant, remember, and worship, and also what he should not do. Please explain all this to me. O powerful Brahmana, it is said that you hardly stay in the houses of men long enough to milk a cow. Sri Sutta Goswami said, "The king thus spoke and questioned the sage, using sweet language. Then the great and powerful personality, the son of Vyasadeva, who knew the principles of religion, began his reply." So let's have a bit of a conversation here. I'd like to feel free to unmute and just like to ask everyone, well, first of all, how did that feel, just hearing the whole chapter? Any particular points that kind of stand out for you? And then we'll kind of go through, a systematic appreciation of the chapter. Anything immediately kind of stand out? Anything that, created a moment of appreciation for the text, or any particular verse that you were drawn by?
Hare Krishna. Maharaj Parikshit says that it seems only by divine intervention, by Krishna's arrangement, that Sukadeva Goswami is here. How he's seeing everything in a positive light. He also says that I would not. I'm so attached to my family, my wealth, my chattel, my position, that I needed this. This is the only way I would have given it all up. So he's seeing this all in such a positive frame of mind. He's not blaming anyone, or he has no malice against anyone. That why did this happen to me? I'm such a nice person. I'm such a nice king. I'm always thinking of the welfare of the kingdom. Why would this happen to me? Why would I die like this? It's not even going there. He's just thinking, thank you, Krishna. You have saved me, by arranging this. So I think it's marvelous the mentality of Maharaj Parikshit, it's worthy of praise, obviously.
Yeah, very good point. He takes everything as Krishna's arrangement. It's interesting how, as devotees, we use this language of the world, positive and negative, isn't it? Somebody is positive about something, someone's negative about something. But beyond that language is Krishna's arrangement. A devotee doesn't necessarily have to see anything as negative or positive, but he sees it as Krishna's arrangement. And therefore, that's always full of great blessing and compassion of Krishna in any situation. Krishna arranges everything, and therefore, if I accept everything as Krishna's arrangement, then everything is auspicious. Anyone else? Any things that so far you find striking? Any verse that stood out for you? Any particular insight that you'd like to share? Yes, Kiran.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I think for me, this is the beginning of what happened as for Arjuna and Krishna. This is a significant moment because this is not only a learning for Arjuna, this was a learning for Parikshit, for Arjuna how to live and for Parikshit how to die gracefully. And this
Yeah.
was a lesson for, because the Bhagavatam is not just for these two individuals, it's for the whole of humanity. And great, great Vedic, Shastric knowledge is being imparted at these clinical, critical moments in time.
Yeah, that's a great point. Is that Kiran from Warsaw?
Yes, Prabhu. I was going to make a comment, but I'll do it later on.
Okay, great. I mean, it's great to have you here and being in your company. You make a good point there. The Bhagavad-Gita is how to live in this world, and the Bhagavatam is how to die. Yeah, that's a good summary of why we read both of these books. Thank you for sharing that. Who else would like to share initial insight or striking points? Anything that caught your attention?
Yeah. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Jaya.
Yes. So one thing is it speaks about how when Shukadeva Goswami enters into is entering in, he's being teased by the women and children as such there. Whereas when the sages see him, they stand up and show the respect. So I think that's interesting how it can be difficult at times to recognize when you are in the presence of somebody who's very advanced spiritually. That on the one hand, they think his appearance is to be mocked. On the other hand, the sages who themselves are very spiritually advanced recognize that this is some great personality and is worthy of respect as opposed to mockery.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's also a very interesting point. Of course, he was oblivious to all of that attention socially. Um, but if we had children and women following us, we would feel it. He wasn't feeling it at all. He was above that, but there was a certain very natural attraction. Right at the beginning of Bhagavatam, when he first appears, we hear the story how when Sukadeva Goswami walks past uh, young girls who are bathing, then, no issue. But when Vyasadeva is trying to find his son and is calling out for Sukadev, and he goes past the same, those women cover themselves. But they didn't cover themselves when Sukadev came by, but they covered themselves when Vyasa came by. So, there's just this kind of social um, disconnection, and so therefore he's not tinged in any way by what's going on around him. Thank you for sharing. Okay, well, let me begin. we'll begin with. I want to take this a few verses at a time because I think it allows us to kind of step in a little deeper, and I just want to highlight a few things. Now, remember, this chapter begins with Parikshit has just come back. He's just committed this act at the house of the sage, and we get this idea. While returning home, the king felt that the act he had committed against the faultless and powerful Brahmana was heinous and uncivilized. Consequently, he was distressed. This is certainly the attitude of somebody who's pursuing a higher consciousness. You know, every word, every thought, every act that one performs, um, we're very conscious of that, and sometimes we will experience this. We're trying to be a good devotee, and then we might say the wrong thing, and we kind of think about it all night, and we overthink it, and oh, how am I gonna live? I've said the wrong words, or I may have offended somebody, or I wasn't polite enough, or I forgot to stand when uh, the senior devotee came into the room, and we get distressed about this. And this is really a good sign. It's a good character because we're always thinking how I can be more better than this, But to think of insulting someone, dishonoring someone, offending someone, those behaviors for a devotee carry a heavy load, and we hear Parikshit feeling this heavy load. And he says, due to my neglecting the injunction of the Supreme Lord, I must certainly expect some difficulty. So immediately he's coming to this realization. I've done something wrong. Something should, you know, something should overcome me. I now desire it without reservation. I'm not going to stop it. I'm not going to I'm not going to push it away. I'm not going to avoid it in any way. It's just let it come. For in this way I may be freed from the sinful action and not commit such an offense again. I've done something wrong. I don't want to do it again. You know, I was sitting with a group of students in school, and we were discussing consequences. In school, if you misbehave, you get a consequence. You get a C1, consequence one, which is low level. And if you repeat it again, you get a C2. And then if you get a C3, you get a detention. So I was in school one day and I was overseeing the detention time, and all these children came in. And they have to do a task when they come in for detention. And I was just having this conversation with them. I said, guys, do you understand this word consequence? Or is it just one of these words we become numb? I said, if you really understand consequence, the moment you receive one, you will come to this resolution that I won't do it again. I don't want to get another consequence. I won't repeat the same behavior. But of course, students don't get it, and some of them repeat the same behavior, and they end up in the same detention the following week. Um, but it's very interesting, for devotees, before we chant Hare Krishna, we remind ourselves of the offenses against the holy name, and the first offense is blasphemy against the devotees of the holy name who have dedicated their life, who are serving the holy name and supporting the broadcasting of the holy name. We protect ourselves from that. And if such a offense, even accidentally, were to happen, how can I become free of this? And so this study of these first three verses of the chapter, we could take a very long time in its study, because it's the character of repentance that Parikshit demonstrates. I am uncivilized and sinful due to my neglect of Brahminical culture. So um he's really carrying the weight and responsibility of having offended a sage. And so therefore he's willing to give up everything for that rectifying process. Let my kingdom and riches and everything be immediately burnt up by the fire of the wrath, so that in the future, I may not be guided by such inauspicious attitudes. What's interesting is that he's inviting the repercussion, he's inviting the reaction immediately, so that the future is not negatively impacted, the future is not inauspiciously impacted by anything. I've done something wrong. Give me the punishment. Give me the whatever it is I need to do. Not going to hide from it. Not going to run away from it. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to accept it. And if that means losing everything, so be it. So be it. So it's interesting how he's inviting the repercussion, the reaction of his behavior immediately. And so therefore we in text 4, while the king was thus repenting, he received news of his imminent. So he's coming back, he's repenting, he's reflecting, he's already thinking. Let that reaction happen straight away. But as he's thinking this, okay, he gets the news. You've been cursed. And so he's thinking it, he receives the news, and the king says, I accept this as good news, for it would be the cause of becoming indifferent to worldly things. One of the themes that that I'm studying right now in Bhagavad-Gita is the theme of duality. And I was just kind of going through all the verses of the Gita. Where does Krishna speak about duality? And I was pretty shocked and surprised and excited at the same time that over 70 verses in the Gita, Krishna addresses the idea of duality, Ichcha and Dvesha, hate and desire, and how the conditioned life, Ichcha and Dvesha, become the operating system for conditioned life. We're just moving between Ichcha, Dvesha, this duality of the world. But here, Krishna, we read that the king is now indifferent. And overcoming our challenges, obstacles, anarthas, unwanted things, it requires us to rise to this point of indifference. Let me just accept everything as Krishna's arrangement, and not as Ichcha and Dvesha, not as things I like and things I hate. Because they are two extremes of this world. They create related emotions within this world. They create a story that I keep telling myself within this world. They create a certain identity of me within this world. And therefore, I'll never be free from it. So this word indifference is quite powerful, in that Parikshit Maharaj immediately arrived at that point of indifference. And what's his response? His response is a very happy one. His response is a very auspicious one. And his response is immediate. He gives the throne to his son, Janamajay, and he's out. He's on the banks of the Ganges. He wants to concentrate his mind on Krishna, and he just wants to enter into this loving experience of serving Krishna. Because as the verse says, it's the greatest achievement, superseding all other methods. He's not interested in anything else. How can I just become absorbed in loving Krishna? And then we hear this beautiful glorification of the location. He decides to go to the Ganges, and we know the Ganges is very auspicious, very dear to Krishna. And here's this beautiful glorification. The river carries the most auspicious water, which is mixed with the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord and tulsi leaves. Therefore, that water sanctifies the three worlds, inside and outside, and even sanctifies Lord Shiva and other demigods. Now, this is important. Consequently, everyone who is destined to die must take shelter of this river. When we go to see someone who's dying, we take sacred articles. Amongst those sacred articles is Gangajal. We put it on their head, we put it to their lips, and they are in the association with Ganga Devi. And when somebody is dying, these exchanges with the person are very, very auspicious and very important in terms of our final service to someone. Just last week, I was sitting with the father of a friend of mine, a family I've known 25 years potentially. And they became so close that I was calling I would also call him dad. And so currently he's in a very critical situation. He may die very soon. But I said to my friend, I said, let me just have some time with him. So I went to see him at his house. We sat together, just me and him, and we're just having this conversation. And though I've been to many people and devotees who are passing away or about to pass away, but never have I had the kind of conversation that I had with this devotee. Because he's fully awake, he's fully conscious. And I'm having this conversation. I said, Dad, you know what's about to happen, don't you? And he said, yeah, I'm going to die. And I'm ready. And I had taken some sacred things with me. I took Nrsingadev oil for him. I took him the Vrindavan dust. I had a blanket from Gokulananda in the manor. And before giving him the blanket, I just said to him, I said, Prabhu, who is your favorite Krishna? And I had no idea what he was going to say. And he said, my favorite Krishna is Radha Gokulananda. And I had had this blanket of Radha Gokulananda for many, many years. It was just with me in my house. And I decided to take it for him. And as soon as he said Radha Gokulananda, I gave him this blanket. And he just embraced it. And, a few other things. And we spoke about Gangajal. And for each item, he was just putting his hands together. And he looked at me and he said, I am not fearful. And I just couldn't believe I was having this conversation. And I told my friend, I said, I've just been asked to prepare for chapter 19. And I said, please read it. Please read it because it will prepare you. You will see exactly what's going on here and all these different things that we need to do for someone who's passing away. Creating that beautiful spiritual environment is so crucial. And a lot of it comes out of this chapter. Um, and this line was just powerful. Consequently, everyone who is destined to die must take shelter of this river. And again, the king has made this vow to now fast. Um, Sit on the banks of the Ganges, fast until death, and give himself up to the lotus feet of the Lord. And so when we're speaking to someone who's nearing that occasion, it can be quite challenging because you have to enter into this very sacred space, but at the same time it can be very emotional. So we have to be, it left such an impression on me talking to him. And then then you realize, I hope I can be like this when my time comes, and I hope somebody will come and sit with me and have that conversation. This is what we yearn for, um, as devotees, to be in the association of devotees, especially at this moment. And as you can see, he says, freeing himself from all kinds of associations and attachments, he accepted the vows of the sage. Another devotee of ours recently visited a person who was passing away in a hospice. And And I asked him, so how was the experience? And, you know, the devotee had some practice. He, you know, wasn't fully, you know, involved, and but his children were devotees, and, you know, he had some association and so on. But here he's lying in the hospice. He could die any moment. And so when this devotee, Sachitanaya, went to see him, the father just put his hands back like this, and he said, I want everything. Put tilak on me, put beads on me, give me japa, give me the holy name. He was just ready. He said, I'm ready. Just put everything you need to put on me right now. So, and Sachi was saying that he had taken all of these items, but he, you know, he was just sensitive. He wasn't sure, should I give him something? Should I bring it out? But the old man just asked for it straight away. He just invited, yes, I'm ready. Uh, put tilak, put this. Um, so it's amazing when that consciousness prevails, the whole environment becomes auspicious. Here, Parikshit is ready. Okay, I've done something wrong. Now the curse has come. Krishna's arrangement. I'm going to do that. And so when making that resolve, Parikshit Maharaj sat by the Ganges, and then he's not alone, because everybody begins to hear of it. Of course, he's the emperor of the world, and so naturally people are intrigued. And so here, all the great minds, all the great thinkers, disciples, sages, they make a pilgrimage. You know, these great sages, they can purify places of pilgrimage, but they're making the pilgrim's journey. They're making this journey. And when we read the names of these great sages, what stands out is two names. I mean, all of them stand out, but Dvaipayana and Narada Muni. Sukadev Goswami's own father is arriving and waiting. Who will take that seat in front of Parikshit Maharaj? Narada Muni, who is glorified in every canto as the spiritual master of so many devotees right throughout the Bhagavatam, he's here as well. He's arrived. He's going to be listening. Every time we encounter Narada Muni in the Bhagavatam, he's giving instruction. Giving instruction to Vyas, giving instruction to Brahma, giving instruction to Dhruva and Prahlad and so on, Yudhishthir. But here he's sitting, he's hearing. So just imagine who Sukadev Goswami is as he arrives in this assembly of amazing personalities. And of course, without going too much into that, Parikshit, we know that Sukadev Goswami is very dear to Radharani. Sukha means parrot, and you know he's a parrot in the spiritual world in Goloka Vrindavan. So, along with the sages, there's also saintly demigods and kings, and interestingly, how Parikshit received them. He's taken this vow. I'm dying, I'm fasting, and I'm giving myself to Krishna. But I bow my head on the ground to all of these great devotees and personalities that have come before me, and is exhibiting this great humility as he expresses his conviction, his determination to fast until he dies. And so then he, for a few verses, Parikshit Maharaj then begins to speak to these sages who have arrived. Indeed, we are most grateful, and that's important. He's expressing his gratitude to be in the Sangha of these great sages. You know, we are most grateful of all the kings who have trained to get favors from great souls, generally you consider royal to be refuge, to be rejected, but they've all come. They've all come. Sages stay away. We hear about how Lord Chaitanya stayed away from the kings. He didn't want to have their association, didn't want to go anywhere near them. And Parikshit is feeling this, and he's offering his gratitude to them for coming and being with him. I remember when in the final, everybody's heard of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Prabhu. He went through a 2-year period of his brain tumor, and in that 2-year period was gradually deteriorating. But the one thing everybody noted was whoever he would meet, whoever would go to see them, he would express so much gratitude to that person. He would glorify their service. He would thank them for what they had done. He would thank them for coming. He would thank them for praying for him. He would just always say, thank you, thank you. He was just almost like on repeat, just saying thank you, expressing gratitude. And I was, every time I observed that, I thought, I wonder what that attitude in the heart of his actually is, where he's just, expressing this deep, meaningful, heartfelt gratitude to every single person that was there, and those devotees who were serving him, being with him, looking after him, what to speak of those who would just occasionally pop in to see him. So another great symptom, I'm going to die. I'm grateful for everyone in my life. I'm grateful. So when we hear these examples, when we read of Parikshit Maharaj, we can use it to create the right attitude and impression within our own mind that if now was my last moment, how am I offering gratitude to the people that matter to me, to the people around me? What is my interaction with them? How am I behaving with them? And that's what really struck me watching the example of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Prabhu. How do I get myself to that attitude? And reading this chapter also helps us. He's very grateful. You've all come. O Brahmanas, just accept me as a completely surrendered soul, and let Mother Ganges, the representative of the Lord, also accept me in that way. For I have already taken shelter. I've already taken the lotus feet of the Lord into my heart. And then whatever's going to happen, let it happen. And again, offering obeisances to all of you Brahmanas, I pray. Now this is a beautiful prayer, almost. I pray that if I should take my birth in this material world, Parikshit asks for 3 things. I will have complete attachment to the unlimited Lord Krishna, number 1. Number 2, I have association with his devotees. And number 3, friendly relations with all living beings. Now, the first and second one we can appreciate. We want attachment to Krishna. We want to be in the Sangha of devotees. I want to take birth again in a devotee family who will raise me to be attached to Krishna. This third one really intrigues me. And again, I like to do a study of this through the Gita. And how many times in the Gita does Krishna ask us, Sarva Bhuteshu Yenaikam, to see the true spiritual nature of all beings? At the end of chapter 11, when Krishna is describing the pure devotional service, he includes, be friendly to all living beings. You see, it's not just being friendly to devotees, because there's 3 categories here: Krishna, devotees, and all beings. And I find that very significant. Yes, I want to be friendly with devotees, but in the Gita, Krishna says, be friendly to all living beings. He doesn't differentiate. He doesn't distinguish. All living beings. And again, Parikshit Maharaj is emphasizing that very point. give me these three things. I'll take these three things any day if I have to take birth again. Let me just be friendly. Now, why is this such a crucial thing? For us to cultivate a friendly attitude to all beings, people of all gender, people of all nations, people of all religion, people of all background, people of all kind of, karma, people of all statuses of life. It's because we free ourselves from duality of this material world. In the third canto, Kapila Dev says, chapter 29, he says, when a devotee worships me in the temple, when the devotee worships me in my deity form, but after that worship, if he doesn't see the same deity he's worshipping, if he doesn't see that deity in the hearts of all living beings, he said, then his worship is like offering oblations to ashes. Oblations are offered to fire, and then Vishnu accepts that. But who offers oblations to ashes? No one. But he says, that's the same. If you don't see Krishna in the heart of all beings and therefore be friendly to all living beings, it's the same as serving the ash of a fire. Anyway, that's another big topic that could come out of this. So again, we now see this determined Parikshit sitting down on straw next to the Ganges, and he's ready to fast till death. And this is a point that has been repeated. He's made this determination. I'm going to fast. And the demigods who all see this, they are very impressed. And then we hear the sages responding to Parikshit. They say, very good. They glorify the lineage that he comes in with the Pandavas, and obviously everybody knows of the beautiful relationship between the Pandavas, and especially Arjuna and the line of Parikshit Maharaj, his father, and then his grandfather Arjuna. So the sages say your throne is highly decorated with the helmets of many kings. And here you are now, you're fasting. You're fasting till death. And this promise of the devotees, the sages, is also quite touching, quite moving, and especially when we care for devotees who are leaving the world, something for us to consider. They say, we shall all wait here until the foremost devotee of the Lord, Maharaj Parikshit, returns to the supreme planet. For a devotee to be passing away from this world, for a devotee to be leaving this world, it is both sad because we lose their association, but it is also most auspicious because they return to Krishna. And so we want to be with them, serve them, create that environment for them, and ensure that that environment is free from all a tinge of material association, asat. All of that is free, and Krishna's name, Krishna's instructions, Krishna's form, Krishna's narrations. That is the only item surrounding this devotee who is passing away, and we want to wait with them until they take their last breath, chanting the holy names for them. So in this way, the sages were equally praising Parikshit for what he was about to step into, the decision that he had made. And then Parikshit Maharaj, desiring to hear the activities of Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, he congratulated the sages He congratulated them for their expression. And then he again is expressing gratitude. You have all kindly assembled here, having come from all parts of the universe. You are all good as the supreme knowledge personified. Consequently, you are naturally inclined to do good to others, but for this you have no interest either in this life or in the next. So again, he's just this gratefulness, this gratitude in his heart. I now ask you about my immediate duty. Please, after proper deliberation, tell me of the unalloyed duty of everyone in all circumstances, and especially for someone who is about to die. And just as he makes that request of the sages, obviously nobody's answered, but just at that point, at that moment, there appeared the powerful son of Vyas, who traveled all over the earth, disinterested and satisfied within himself. He did not manifest any symptoms of belonging to any social order or status of life. He was surrounded with women and children, and he dressed as if others had neglected him. And I'm just going to read these verses because they're just beautiful description. The son of Vyasadeva was only 16 years old. His legs, hands, thighs, arms, shoulders, forehead, and the other parts of his body were all delicately formed. His eyes were beautiful, wide, and his nose and ears were highly raised. He had a very attractive face, and his neck was well formed and beautiful like a conch shell. His collarbone was fleshy. Now, even though this really describes a 16-year-old, he's a sage, he's naked, but he doesn't appear to be emaciated or thin in any way. His collarbone was fleshy, his chest was broad and thick, and his navel deep, and his abdomen beautifully striped. His arms were long, and curly hair was strewn over his beautiful face. He was naked, and the hue of his body reflected that of Lord Krishna. He was blackish and very beautiful due to his youth. Because of the glamour of his body and his attractive smiles, he was pleasing to women. Though he tried to cover his natural glories, the great sages present there were all expert in the art of physiognomy, which means you're able to read the physical characteristics of a person. And so they honored him by rising. When somebody senior walks in, we rise. And so they all arose. Now remember who's there. Narada is there, Vyasadeva is there, Maitreya is there, everybody's there. And they rise. And Parikshit is bowing his head. Here is the chief guest, Sukadeva Goswami. And so now Sukadeva Goswami takes the exalted seat. Parikshit Maharaj takes the seat in front of him, before him, and Parikshit Maharaj then enters into this glorification. Sukadeva Goswami sat perfectly pacified, intelligent, and ready to answer any question without any hesitation. And Parikshit Maharaj approaches him, offers him respects, bows down, and then makes inquiry. Krishna in Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 434, very famous verse that devotees generally know. Tadvidi pranipadena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. So Parikshit Maharaj is approaching Sukadeva Goswami, who is a tattvadarshi, for one who has seen the truth. So Krishna says three things. You approach with humility, pranipat. You approach with inquiry, pariprashna. And then you approach with service, sevaya. And we feel this in the way Parikshit then glorifies Sukadeva Goswami. By your mercy only you have sanctified us, making us like unto places of pilgrimage. By your presence here as my guest. By your mercy we who have but unworthy royalty become eligible to serve the devotee. Simply by remembering you, our houses become instantly sanctified. That's why we like to invite senior devotees to our home. We like it when sannyasis come and they can get away and come to someone's house. Everybody's excited, everybody's ecstatic, everybody's happy because they're sanctifying. They're sanctifying by their presence, they're sanctifying by their words, they're sanctifying by their uplifting guidance. What to speak of seeing you, touching you, washing your holy feet, and offering you a seat in our home. All our sins are vanquished. Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is very dear to the sons of King Pandu, has accepted me as one of those relatives just to please his great cousins and brothers. So much gratitude is being expressed by Parikshit, for the sages, for the Ganga, for the curse, for his connection to this beautiful lineage of King Pandu. Just grateful, grateful, grateful that I'm grateful to have met the devotees. I'm grateful to have my spiritual master. I'm grateful to have devotee friends. I'm grateful because they're all going to remind me of Krishna in my most ultimate moment of death. You are the spiritual master of great saints and devotees. I'm now begging you to show the way of perfection. So now here comes the question. Please let me know what a man should hear, chant, remember, and worship, and also what he should not do. Please explain all this to me. I can't remember where, probably in the second canto, I think, though I don't have the reference. There is a verse where Parikshit Maharaj asks Sukadeva Goswami, please answer all the questions I have asked and also the questions I haven't asked. So he wants to know everything. Don't just answer the questions with the limitation of my questions, but also the questions I don't know what to ask, I haven't thought of asking. Answer that as well. And that's quite wholesome in that Parikshit is looking for the full. Just tell me everything I need to know. An interesting text 39, how it is said that you hardly stay in the house of men long enough to milk a cow. Why is he saying that? Well, again, he's grateful. You're spending time with me. I've been given 7 days. You're going to spend all this time with me, but you usually don't spend time. I mean, how long does it take to milk a cow? You go to someone's house, you stand at the door, they milk a cow, they give you the milk and you go. How long does that take? Certainly not 7 days, maybe not even a day. But now he's giving his time to answer this amazing question. What should I hear? What should I chant? What should I remember? What should I worship? And again, we hear a similar verse in chapter 2 of Canto 1. What should a person hear, chant, remember, and worship? Parikshit Maharaj is now personalizing that, internalizing that. Please tell me. This is it. I need to do this. I've made a vow. I'm going to fast. We have the holy Ganges. We have all the sages. I'm ready for this. And then the king thus spoke and questioned the sage using sweet language. Then the great and powerful personality, the son of Vyasadeva, who knew the principles of religion, began to reply. And that's the end of the first canto. We're left on a cliffhanger. We have to buy the second canto. We have to get the book. Of course, we can go online and find the second canto, but it's a beautiful ending. The whole of the first canto gives us an amazing journey and summary of the life of the Pandavas, the prayers of Kunti, the passing of Bhishma, the lamentation of Krishna's departure, and how Arjuna and the Pandavas are feeling around that, and then the glories of Parikshit, the cursing of Kali Yuga, and then this accidental fault of the king that he receives as Krishna's arrangement, and how he now prepares for the ultimate test of his life to chant, hear about, remember, and glorify and worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the chapter. This chapter has become very real to me in recent days because of serving this devotee who is having, is preparing, and it was a very interesting experience just having that conversation with him. But it's a good chapter for us to go to and remind ourselves of the ultimate place, our daily practice, our daily service, our association, our study, everything we do. We pray that Krishna creates this environment for us, for our ultimate passing from this world. I'll pause here and see if there are any reflections, any questions.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you, and thank you for taking us on this journey. And by sharing this experience, you have made this chapter come to life for us. We can see, what it's bringing out, what it's representing, because you've connected it to your personal experiences. So really grateful for you to do that. And also, it's Purushottam month. It's so auspicious for the speaker, so auspicious for the listeners as well. So everything falls into place. And you mentioned about sharing with your uncle, or with a friend that who's about to leave, the senior friend who's about to leave his body. And I heard Giri Maharaj say that one who serves a person who's about to die, it's really beneficial to serve someone who's about to leave their body, and let alone a devotee. You mentioned Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Prabhu, to serve someone who's about to leave their body. It's I think spiritually, it's very beneficial to us as well. This is words of Giriraj Maharaj, Swami, Giriraj Swami, telling us that, and that sort of sticks in my mind. That someone who's about to leave, sometimes we try to avoid those situations. People avoid going to a funeral because they don't want to go to a depressing environment, and they don't want to go to someone who's about to die because there's tears and there's talk about death. People avoid it, but you have to face it head on. This part of life, it's a reality that we all have to face for ourselves and for our relatives, for our friends, for our friends' friends. So we have to face it, and to be able to serve someone in that situation, it's really, really beneficial. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you for doing that, Prabhu. And like I said, it really connects with this chapter, because this is what the sages are doing. This is what Sukadeva Goswami is doing. That they are about to serve someone who is about to die. They've come to serve him, with their time, with their words. So yeah, wonderful. One thing I was going to ask, but I think you answered it anyway, because look, you want to know about Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, you would go to the author himself. When the author is sitting there, why would you ask someone else to speak on it when the author is sitting there? He said, "Oh, you written this book, or you have manifested Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Please, can you tell us a bit more?" But now they waited for Shukadeva Goswami for the obvious reason, because he's Sukha, he's Parito Radharani, and there was anyone more qualified to speak about it than even Narad Muni waited for him. So that was very interesting that even the author waited for his son, or for Shukadeva Goswami, to come, and he said he should do it because he's sweet in the nectar. Vyasadeva might have written it, but to recite it will be nobody can speak it nectariously more than Shukadeva Goswami, because he's the parrot of Radharani, and that is the ripened mango the sweetness, the fruit of the scriptures, the ripened fruit. It can only be more nectarious when it's spoken by Shukadeva Swami. So yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Okay, anybody else, please ask questions to Prabhu, and let's make this even more interesting. If you have any questions, any doubts, anything, or you just want to add something, please ask Prabhu now.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for such a wonderful class, especially for the realizations you shared. That is so amazing. I just want to share a few things. I mean, please interrupt me whenever I'm speaking something wrong, Prabhuji. So, like we always say, three kinds of knowledge, like Pratyaksha, Anumana, and Shabda. Even though we know Shabda Praman is the ultimate one, but we always, even knowing also, we believe more in Pratyaksha rather than Shabda Praman, I feel. And when things come visible, like what you explained about your friend's father. So even we had fortunate, we met Shrutidharma Prabhu once. That was our first visit to Bhaktivedanta Manor temple by Narakeshwar Prabhu. Actually, he took all of us from our Bhakti Vriksha to the temple. And that time only Shrutidharma Prabhu came out of the hospital, and he told us during the class that he thought while going into the operation theater, he thought that he will not remember anything other than Krishna. But after coming out, he felt like he remembered everything other than Krishna. So he shared this. So even though the one is more into Krishna consciousness, but anything can happen. It depends all on our 24/7 nature. Ultimately will come out, even though you're trying. It cannot be forced. It has to come from the heart only. I mean, Shrutidharma Prabhu is so great. For him, it can happen. So it can happen to anybody, I feel, at least me. And speaking about Maharaj Parikshit, we also know about Maharaj Katvanga, who fought on the behalf of the demigods. And he asked him, well, how much time is left for me? And they said only 45 minutes left. And he immediately left everything and he surrendered to the Lord. He spent time in the meditation of the Lord and he left. So these pastimes are very amazing. They just give us a lesson that anytime anything can happen in your life, you cannot wait until that happens. We have to start from now only. And I mean, knowing things in advance is really good, Prabhuji. That's what I feel like. Now, Parishit Maharaj know that he's going to die in 7 days. And genuinely, there is no option left for him. I mean, he was protected by the Lord himself when he was in the embryo. But still, he did not go to the Lord seeking for protection. But instead, he understood that it is Lord's plan. Similarly, I feel like, as you said, like Vyasadeva was there, Narad Muni was there. They were not speaking. Instead, they were waiting for like Shukadeva Goswami to enter there. So I feel because they are exalted devotees, they know the Lord's plan, and they just participate in the Lord's plan, but do not interfere with Lord's plan. So during one of our retreat, like Keshava Maharaj was asked by one of the devotees that, what is your goal of your life? Then he said, my goal is the same as what Srila Prabhupada's goal is. I do not make any separate goal because the goal is already done by Srila Prabhupada and Mahaprabhu. I just have to follow that. That's my goal. And being composed is really, really great, especially in crisis situation. Parishit Maharaj, after reading this chapter, I understand that Parishit Maharaj, when he was cursed, he was not present there. He left the place, and after which he came to know that he was being cursed, that he will die in 7 days. That is really hard to take at that point, but still he was so composed. And we have one devotee, Ram Prabhu. He is not here. I mean, he's dead for now. I mean, we came to Krishna consciousness only by seeing him actually. When he started a Bhakti Vriksha for all of us, he shared one of his experience that he was about to go for ILR, indefinitely to remain. That's a desire of anybody coming from India to UK to go to ILR. And on the day he was supposed to go for interview of ILR, he lost all his documents, complete set of documents, and he lost his all debit cards, credit cards, everything. They all get in one bag. He lost. But other Prabhu who was watching him, he said that he did not see him or his Mataji in anxiety even for a minute. And that's all because he's not that he's not worried, but he has the trust in the Lord. We can see that faith in him. And that's what actually brought us also to Krishna consciousness, seeing his devotion and his faith in the Lord. That's all, Prabhuji, that I want to share. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing those insights. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can I make an observation?
Sure, please.
You may recall many, many decades ago, Bhaktivedanta was going through a legal process, and I had just completed my first degree. And Prabhu, you came to my place and was seeking a little bit of assistance. As a poor student, I was only able to offer a little bit and a few grains of sands of the little squirrel. And I hope those few grains of sands help build the road through the middle of that passage. But what I'm going to say is, after many, many decades of you having come to our place and having left the Gita and some malas with me, those malas sat on a deity, but the Gita also sat on a shelf for many decades. I think the wrapper still remained. It was only till many decades later that I realized how auspicious an occasion that was, because a saintly person had come to my house and they had, with humility and generosity, left the seeds of wisdom. It took many decades for them to fructify. And I now realized it's better later than never. And like Parikshit, realized that we can't waste time. We cannot casually take this wisdom, because this is our one opportunity to engage in bhakti like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has delineated in his literature. And time is essential, because we have to now create, like you have indicated, that spiritual environment where we are friendly to each other, that we serve the Vaishnavas with absolute humility and compassion. And we overcome those dualities and realize, oh, this is Krishna's will. Because there was a time when I was asked to take some books on medicine and heart surgery to India, to a super specialty hospital. And in trying to help an elderly person, I forgot to take the books from the top of the luggage rack. I was anxious. Of course I was anxious, because somebody had asked me to take these books to a hospital where they could perform surgery. By Krishna's grace, one of our friends in India said, we know somebody who works for Air France who may be able to locate those literature, who may be able to help people in their heart surgery. And within a week, those literature were retrieved. Because this is the divine grace, and the grace that visits us, as did Parikshit had the divine grace of all the sages. And thank you for sharing your wisdom with us, because you only embrace our lives with such wisdom and humility. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. We're just trying to follow the previous teachers who have taught the examples and just do what they have told us to do. But I'm so glad that Prabhupada said his books are like time bombs. A time bomb can go off at any time, but the books go off at the right time for the right person, on the right day, in the right moment. you will recognize and think, wait a minute, this book has been sitting on my shelf for 30 years, 20 years, 5 years. Let me open it. And then as soon as you open it, it blows up. It goes off. And we become attracted to Krishna. We become reconnected again with him. So I'm so glad that the time bomb went off for you. And maybe I should come and pay a visit to Warsaw and just see old friends like you, and yeah, it'd be nice to do that.
Please do. It'll be our pleasure.
We can have some fun.
Yeah, I'm only
Thank you.
down the road from Prabhu as well, Prabhu. So
Oh, okay.
when you do come down, I'm also here. We can all get together.
Whereabouts in Warsaw do you live?
Just off the Broadway North.
No way.
Just the other side where you I think you're in Park Hall, right?
No.
I think Prabhu was near the Chuckery, or sorry, near the rugby ground.
Yeah, near the rugby ground.
Yeah.
Okay, so the college, where the college is now, is it?
Yeah. Where the rugby ground
that's
is.
like a few yards from where you're
Yeah.
Broadway, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of where I grew up. I was born in Warsaw, but then grew up around that area, just that part of Delves and near. I used to play rugby for school on the rugby pitch, and we used to hang out there.
Yeah, well, a lot of rugby goes on up there now. They have on a Saturday especially, a lot of matches go on.
Yeah, I didn't pay that much, but anyway, I just know that area.
Just one more observations. Whilst I was wandering around in flares and Oxford bags, Prabhu was walking around in dhotis, even as a teenager.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that this Bhagavad-Gita, somebody gave it to me, and it lay on the shelves for decades as well. Radharani, I think she opened it. I had looked at the pictures at the time. I was a teenager. I saw the pictures, and I left it. I said, yeah, very nice pictures, and I left it at that. But Radharani, when we got married, she opened this, and then she read it, and then she passed it on to me. Then we couldn't put it down. So how did we miss this? This is just magic. It's a magical book. And what's in there? Keshava says, we don't know what we don't know. This is the problem. We just didn't know that we didn't know all this, what was in there. And when we discovered it, couldn't put it down.
Yeah.
Changed our lives.
Right.
So thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. I really appreciated being here with everyone. Carry on this wonderful service of being immersed in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And hopefully we can all meet again sometime soon.
Absolutely. We'll see you on Sunday, hopefully. And definitely, and I really appreciate you making time for us and sharing, so much wisdom and your experiences, insights with us too, Prabhu. So I really appreciate that. And I'm going to catch up with you very soon. Please, can everybody unmute now and give 3 Haribols.
Haribol.
Haribol. Haribol.
Please come again soon, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Yeah, I will. Thank you so much. And we'll all see you in London on Sunday. But thank you all very much. Very grateful for your association, for all of you taking this seriously and being here. Thank you, Narayan Keshava Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Hare Krishna.
thank you for your time. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all. Thank you for joining. We'll catch up again on Monday. Or in fact on Friday.
Friday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Part 2 was usually out, mate.
Hari Hari.
Don't anyone lose.